I didn't scream. I didn't accuse anyone. I just stared at my empty suitcase, my hands shaking, my stomach sinking, realizing something awful. Someone had stolen from me. And they had no idea who they had just messed with. Studio microphone intro CTA, 15 to 20 seconds. Before we begin, if you've ever been betrayed, underestimated, or robbed of something you worked hard for, this story is for you. Like, subscribe, and settle in, because this revenge didn't happen fast. It happened perfectly. I was a sophomore in college, still young enough to believe that most people were decent, and old enough to be painfully wrong about it. This was the late 1980s, before cell phones, before social media, before you could track someone's location or warn others instantly. When something happened to you back then, you either swallowed it, or you waited. And I learned to wait. At the time, I was dating a guy from South America. He came from serious money, the kind of wealth you don't talk about, but everyone notices. His clothes were tailored without looking flashy. His confidence was quiet. And when he smiled, it felt like the world slowed down just a little. Spring break was coming up, and he, his brother, and a group of their friends had booked one of those legendary college trips to South Padre Island. Sunday booze. Chaos. Freedom. I was supposed to go with them. But life doesn't always work out cleanly. The buses were full. Completely booked. No extra seats. No wiggle room. I remember sitting on my dorm bed, staring at the wall, feeling that awful mix of disappointment and FOMO. Everyone else was going. Everyone. That's when my roommate poked her head in. "Hey," she said casually, like she was offering me a stick of gum. "My boyfriend and some guys from his frat are driving down. You want to come with them?" I hesitated. "How many?" "4 guys. They've got a truck." A truck. I didn't know them well. I kind of knew her boyfriend, but not enough to trust him with my life. Still, this was spring break. And my boyfriend was already there, waiting for me. So I said yes. That decision changed everything. We left before dawn. The air was cold, the sky barely lightening as we piled into the truck. I sat up front most of the drive, helping with directions, even taking a turn behind the wheel. 3 of the guys were fine. Normal. Loud. Dumb in that harmless, college boy way. The 4th guy, the owner of the truck, was different. He barely spoke to me. Didn't look at me. Refused to drive. Instead, he stretched out in the back seat, lighting up joint after joint, hotboxing his own truck like the rest of us didn't exist. Someone laughed and said, "Oh, that's just drugs." I blinked. Drugs? Not then. But something shifted. And even though I didn't know it yet, the clock had started ticking. The thing no one tells you about being wronged like that, quietly, without witnesses, is how heavy it feels afterward. The money was gone, yes. But what stayed with me was something worse. The violation. Someone had gone through my things. My clothes. My personal space. They had waited until my back was turned and decided I wouldn't notice, or wouldn't matter. For the rest of that night, I smiled when I was supposed to. I laughed when everyone else laughed. But inside, I felt smaller. Less solid. Like a door had been left open somewhere deep in my chest. Every time someone brushed past me in a crowded bar, my shoulders tensed. Every time I heard laughter behind me, I wondered if it was about me. And drugs. He was out there somewhere on the island. Drinking. Partying. Spending my money. The next few days passed in a blur of sunburns, cheap beer, and too loud music. My boyfriend and his friends were protective, almost aggressively so. I noticed it in the way they positioned themselves around me at bars. The way conversation stopped when certain names came up. The way his brother would scan parking lots before we crossed them. I asked once, quietly, "You're not going to do anything stupid, right?" My boyfriend kissed my forehead. "Don't worry," he said. "We're just watching." Watching. That word should have scared me. But instead, it made me feel strangely safe. At night, when everything finally slowed down, the anger crept in. Not explosive anger. The cold kind. The kind that plays scenes over and over in your head. I imagined Drax opening my suitcase. His fingers rifling through my things. The moment he saw the cash. The decision. The ease of it. No hesitation. No guilt. Just entitlement. She won't miss it. She won't say anything. What's she going to do? Those thoughts kept me awake more than the noise outside ever did. Almost a week passed before I saw them again. We were at a bar, one of those dim, sticky floor places where the air smelled like sweat and spilled liquor. The music was loud enough to vibrate through your bones. I was mid-sentence when I saw headlights sweep across the entrance. A truck. My stomach dropped. I didn't even need to see who stepped out. I felt it. The laughter. The swagger. That careless, reckless energy. Then I saw him. Drugs. Same lazy posture. Same smug expression. Same face that had looked away when I handed him gas money. My hands started shaking so badly I had to set my drink down. "I want to leave," I whispered. My boyfriend followed my gaze. His expression changed instantly. "Which truck is theirs?" he asked calmly. I pointed. "That one." He nodded once. "I'll be right back." Before I could say anything, he and his brother were already heading toward the door. Panic surged through me. I imagined fists. Police. Sirens. Everything spiraling out of control. I stood there, frozen, counting seconds. 1 minute. 2. 3. Every sound made me flinch. Finally, they came back in. My boyfriend didn't say a word. He just took my hand, firmly, and led me out. No confrontation. No shouting. Nothing. That scared me more than anything else. We didn't go back to the bar that night. Instead, we danced somewhere else. Laughed too loud. Stayed out too late. It felt forced. Like everyone was trying to outrun something. But under it all, there was a strange electricity. Something had been set in motion. A couple of days later, the trip ended early for us. My boyfriend surprised me by saying he wasn't taking the bus back. "I booked us tickets," he said casually. "We are flying out of Brownsville." That alone should have tipped me off. At the airport, while we waited to board, he leaned back in his chair like a man with no worries left in the world. I watched planes take off through the window, feeling that odd mixture of relief and unease. Then he said it. "Drugs is fucked." I turned to him. "What?" He looked at me, eyes steady. No smile. My brother and I put sand in his gas tank. For a moment, I didn't understand the words. Sand. Gas tank. Then it clicked. My breath caught. "You, what?" He explained it calmly. Too calmly. How they'd gone out. How they knew which truck was his. How easy it was. He won't get far, his brother added. Maybe an hour. 2, if he's lucky. I didn't know how to feel. Part of me felt sick. Another part felt lighter. We boarded the plane. The island disappeared beneath the clouds. And just like that, it was out of my hands. Back home, life resumed its normal rhythm. Classes. Homework. Dorm drama. For 2 days, for a long time after that, I didn't talk about it. Not because I was afraid. But because I didn't know how to name what I felt. It wasn't joy. It wasn't cruelty. It wasn't even satisfaction in the way movies portray it. It was balance. Like the universe had tilted too far in one direction, and someone, had quietly nudged it back into place. In the days that followed, the story spread the way gossip always does on a college campus, distorted, dramatized, half wrong. Some people said the truck had exploded. Others claimed drugs had tried to drive it while high and destroyed the engine himself. A few whispered that someone had sabotaged it, but no one could say who. And that was the point. There was no accusation. No proof. No dramatic confrontation. Just consequences. I ran into one of the other guys from the truck a week later. One of the nice ones. He looked exhausted. "You okay?" I asked. He laughed without humor. "Man, that trip was cursed." He told me about the breakdown. About waiting in the heat. About drugs panicking as mechanics shook their heads. His dad almost lost it, he said. Like, nuclear-level angry. I nodded sympathetically. Inside, I said nothing. Here's what people don't understand about revenge like this. It's not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need witnesses. The power comes from knowing, and never needing to say a word. Drugs never apologized to me. He never even looked me in the eye again. And that told me everything. Months passed. Then years. Life moved forward the way it always does. Different relationships. Different cities. Different versions of myself. But every now and then, usually late at night, when the world got quiet, I'd think about that girl on the bed in South Padre Island, staring at an empty suitcase. How small she felt, how helpless. And I'd realize something important. She didn't stay that way. I learned something from that experience that stayed with me long after college ended. Some people mistake kindness for weakness. They assume silence means surrender. They believe they can take, and nothing will happen. They're wrong. Sometimes justice doesn't come from courts or confrontations. Sometimes it comes from patience. From timing. From letting someone walk confidently toward their own downfall. I never told my roommate the truth. Never corrected the rumors. Never bragged. Because real revenge doesn't need applause. It only needs balance restored. For a long time, I thought revenge was about what happened to him. The truck. The engine. The humiliation of calling his father. The loss of freedom when his keys were taken away. All of that felt like justice neatly wrapped with a bow. But that wasn't the real ending. The real ending happened slowly, inside me. Before that trip, I believed something dangerous. I believed that if you were polite enough, quiet enough, accommodating enough, people would treat you fairly. Losing that money shattered that illusion. Watching karma reclaim it, without my hands ever getting dirty, rebuilt me in a different shape. Stronger. Sharper. Awake. Years later, I ran into drugs again. Not at a party. Not at a bar. At a gas station. The irony wasn't lost on me. He didn't recognize me at first. Why would he? I was just a girl from a long ago spring break. But I recognized him immediately. Older. Thinner. Less swagger. No truck. When his eyes finally landed on me, something flickered. Recognition. And then, something else. Shame. He looked away. Didn't speak. Didn't smile. Just stared at the floor like a man haunted by a past he couldn't outrun. And in that moment, I felt nothing but calm. No anger. No triumph. No need to say a word. The debt had been paid. Here's the truth no one admits. Revenge doesn't always feel like fireworks. Sometimes it feels like closure. Sometimes it feels like finally standing upright again after being bent too long. And they didn't change you into something bitter or cruel. I don't condone hurting people. I don't celebrate destruction. But I believe, deeply, that the universe keeps receipts. And every once in a while, it lets you watch the balance return. He stole $300 from a young woman who trusted him. In return, he lost something far more expensive. His arrogance. His freedom. And the illusion that actions don't have consequences. If you're listening to this and you've been wronged, cheated, stolen from, humiliated, hear this. You don't always need to fight. You don't always need to scream. And you don't always need to expose the truth publicly. Sometimes the most devastating revenge is living well, staying quiet, and letting karma do its job. If this story hit you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like the video if you believe karma keeps score. Subscribe for more real, live true stories where justice doesn't rush. But it never forgets. Because some lessons aren't taught immediately. They are earned.